Okay. Anyway, here we go again. I had some fun. I was trying to thread out some messed up threads on the old Bobcat, and of course, the tap broke. So I figured, all right, how hard can it be to remove a tap? About an hour later, I got it out. I tried everything. I tried an extractor, welding, heating with a torch, all kinds of different methods. You can't really drill out a tap because they're way too hard. So what I ended up doing, I ended up building a jig using a die grinder, plunge grinding it with the stone, and then I was able to make my own tap and get it out. Well, not really a tap, but like an extractor out of an old chisel. So that's a lot of fun. Now, where am I going? I'm going to Harbor Freight. And the reason I'm going to Harbor Freight, I need to get a replacement, not only for the tap that broke, but I also managed to break the tap holder, and that set's been missing several taps and dies for a while. So go ahead and do that now. Let me see if this is still working. Yes, it is. I have a problem when I use the phone or GoPro as a camera. It tends to overheat, which cuts off my video, generally about the time that I start to talk about interesting things. Now, what am I talking about today? The weatherman said that we had a 70% chance of rain. But guess what? No rain. Let's see if I can... Yep, shifter works perfectly. Thank you so much. The two people that gave me what I need to fix my bike, new tires, inner tube, bike shifters, they really improved the ride. There's an iguana. Now, I was thinking back. This neighborhood over here, they started building this in the late 80s. I was living in this neighborhood. I was going to college, Miami-Dade College and FIU. I was in college from when I started in 1986 all the way to 1992. And I finished in the spring of 92. The reason is I started on a scholarship with an AS degree that eventually moved on to the BS degree. Hey, Mr. Iguanas. There's another one, and there's another one. Lots of iguanas. They're too small, though. They always put their head up. That makes them easy to catch. The only problem is when you shoot them, they're going to go straight in the water. So that's why I like to use the crossbow with the reel. That way when you get them, come back. I guess they must have finished doing that digging they did yesterday. We're putting in some kind of line here. I see people over there in the townhouse development walking their dogs. Oh well. Yep, they dug that up. Oh, look, see, I know what that's for. There's a transformer box. So they must have been fixing the electrical. That's what I figured. Got a new transformer box. Anyway, 92, when I finished college, got my degree, went out there starting to look for work, found out it wasn't that easy to find work in the electronics or engineering field. In fact, it was very difficult. And by the summertime, I'd gotten pretty frustrated. So we had discussed between my parents and I and a couple of my friends, it might be a good idea to move out of this area. Miami, Florida is not an area known for productive anything. It's basically just a place for real estate speculation and money laundering. That's all it is. All the money here comes from somewhere else, which is no good. Anyway. Don't tell me I got a slowpoke on a mic in front of me. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I was a slow one. Let's see. Let's see. Entrance. Yep. Gotta be on your toes when you're riding in Miami. These entrances and exits are very dangerous because they have these fences and they have all kinds of landscaping. You can't see who's coming and going, which makes it really, really dangerous. Everybody I know that does cycling on a regular basis has had at least one car accident. And that's something that thankfully I haven't had. It's important to be able to anticipate what other people are going to do, and because I am a realist and not an optimist, I don't expect people to stop. People call me negative thinking, but so-called negative thinking can save your life. If you're stupid enough to always think positively, you will suffer. And you'll be one of those people that gets injured or maybe even killed. Now in 92, as I was mentioning before, I was looking for work, couldn't find any. And I was frustrated. Now, even though I never had any student debt, I paid for my college expenses just from side money that I made, doing little jobs here and there. That came down to books and supplies, parts for some of the projects I did, maybe some software. It was not exactly the most expensive thing. Oh, come on. What the heck is this? Freaking truck in the middle of the road. You piece of garbage. Damn. Look at this traffic. I just can't believe that anybody would want to live here. Anyway, it wasn't that bad back then. But I was trying to find work, and I ended up just taking a little bit of time, meeting people. I had other friends that I had gone to school with, a couple of them that got jobs for the government, FAA, stuff like that. And that was one of those things that a lot of people, it's one of the few options you have. If you have a degree like engineering or electrical or whatever, you really had two choices, the government and the utilities, and that's it. There's a couple of companies here. There was one company that worked with aviation electronics. You had the medical industry, Cordis, and oh, there's an iguana right there. Wow, right in front of me. Then you had the other company. What's the name of that company? It's still there, I think. Coulter Electronics or Beckman Coulter or whatever they call it. That turned out to be still there, unless they've turned it into an apartment complex, which pretty much what they do here. You get one of those large corporate campuses, they're going to demolish it and replace it with apartments. That's usually what happens. Which is kind of interesting because they seem to be building apartments everywhere, and yet they're not building any more places to work. Now, back in 92, similar dilemma, I could not find decent work. So I took my time to meet different people, and I started doing some of my collecting. Actually did some construction related work. Okay. some construction-related work, and I made friends with a couple of people that did electrical work. Then, in August of '92, Hurricane Andrew hit. Now, Hurricane Andrew was a very interesting thing because I kind of figured out it was coming before everybody else. I had one of my older friends. Back then, the Miami Herald used to have a hurricane tracker map. And then they would announce the coordinates on the radio, on the news, or on the weather radio, and you'd put a dot, and then you would draw it. Well, I was trying to study the different pressures, and again, there was no internet back then, so it was sort of like listening to the radio and trying to figure out the story of something. And I do have to admit, it was kind of fun. And I did this for years. Anyway, I saw the storm forming. It had been a very slow season with no hurricanes at all. And you have to realize that for decades before that, there were no real hurricane warnings or anything. It was just one of those things that kind of, you heard about it from old timers, but you didn't get to see it in person. And because of that, I became sort of a self-proclaimed expert in hurricanes. Anyway, here comes Andrew. I see it coming, and I get this weird feeling. This storm might come this way. Now, a lot of people were convinced that Hurricane Andrew was going to make the turn like they always did, just like Hurricane David did about 12 years earlier. But it didn't happen. And Hurricane Andrew actually, right on the weekend, hit that high pressure system that I figured was coming, and it basically just kept on going. Came straight towards Miami. Very interesting. So, with that in mind, it was not completely unexpected. 2 days before everybody else knew what was going on, I had already gone into panic mode. I was trying to gather up materials, cover the windows on my parents' house, making plans. Now, I had a generator that a friend of mine gave me, but it didn't get it running. Told them, let's collect water, try to find a way to preserve our food. And by the time that, I think it was on Saturday, Friday night, people were still acting like nothing was happening. And on Saturday, the news started scaring people. And if anybody remembered Miami back then, we had a weatherman named Ryan Norcross who was out there talking everybody through the storm. Now, interestingly, when the storm did come, not only did it surprise everybody where it went, but it was stronger than anybody could have ever anticipated. Thankfully, at the last minute, it actually went a little bit south of here. So the maximum winds we got here were about 150. Well, they were about 150 when they blew the anemometer off of the roof. I used to have my own little weather station. Typical 1970s, 1980s kid. And interestingly, I'm not sure exactly why. Oh, look, I caught up with this guy on the scooter. I'm not sure exactly why, but I felt very much ready. Of course, after the storm, it was not a pleasant experience, as there was just so much in the way of damage, inconvenience, and all these other things. Now, what is this? Look at how sloppy these people are. This is somebody's fiber optic cable. And it's just, look at this, laying on the ground. This thing is crazy. Active fiber optic cable. Unreal. The infrastructure in this country is terrible. There's also a large duct that somebody put in. I guess they never used it. But anyway, let me see if this is still working. Yes, it is. That hurricane, it was something else. Let me tell you. But on the good side, it was a wake-up call. And after that, I started to think, well, I need to move somewhere that there's not as much population density, it's more rural. Now, a friend of mine in this neighborhood actually found a place towards Homestead. He's the one that's moving away. And I looked down there as well. Almost got a halfway decent place for $25,000 cash. Sadly, though, I didn't. But after a few months, money started pouring back in. A lot of people moved out, but a lot of people started moving out into that area. All the rural areas, people that had moved out to other states or upstate Florida, people from the suburbs came in and started to buy it, just like I was going to do. And within a few months, prices stopped going down. Now I started to think about it. It's like, well, this goes to show that the amount of fools that are stupid enough to want to live in Miami and throw money around are almost unlimited. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to look for the next closest place that's still cheap and that has all the things that Miami used to have. Well, of course, no such place exists. South Florida, Miami is very unique. It is one of the few places in the U.S. with a tropical climate and an area with abundant water, long coastlines and everything. But I did find something very similar between Lake Okeechobee and Fort Myers in a county called Hendry County. So I went ahead and I took $10,000 and bought myself some land there. And my plan was to build on it. Look, coconuts, there's a mango. Oh, that's a coconut, okay. Build on that land. And that's actually what we were going to do. I started building on the land in 1998. But my dad had some health issues. And then I ended up getting distracted. Got with a friend of mine who was starting a business in DVRs and IT. I had been in IT, of course, from about 1995 until the year 2000. So that's a long story. I'm going to make a series of videos explaining some of the things that I have done, but I try not to be specific because some of the people I work with are not friends anymore, and some of the people aren't even alive anymore. Well, it looks like somebody had a little fender bender. Now you want to get run over by a bicycle? Stay in the middle of the sidewalk. Oh well. This is Miami. People are always getting hit. They should just sell bumper cars here. That way they can just bump into each other and that's it. Well, anyway. With that being the way it is, I have to admit, it just was kind of frustrating when you think about it. Anyway, the idea of finding a good career or good source of income has always been a challenge. Now let's talk about what I did do after college. What I did in 92, we had Andrew. I had no work. The house was damaged, but not destroyed. And we had friends. They had set up a volunteer group to help people cover up their roof, clean up after the storm, and do whatever it took to manage their lives. So we started going around and doing this, people in the group, and little by little, I got to see how much damage was done by the storm and the situations that people were in. Now it's interesting too because I'd never really done that kind of work before. That was the first time in my life I ever got involved in cleaning up disasters. Now, the volunteer group actually led to a paid job. Because what happened, as the free work was completed, government work started coming, and we set up with a few other people that had a business, and we ended up doing debris removal and some demolition and all kinds of stuff. In fact, one of our biggest jobs was at a trailer park that had been wiped out by Andrew. So, and then I also got in contact with one of the people that I knew that did electrical work, traffic signals and such, and I got involved in that work as well. So, from the time I finished college, within a relatively short time, I had already been working. So by the end of the year, I was working. Now, as you know, in 1993, I was somehow talked into going on a plant-based diet, and part of that was my parents, but the other part was people that I worked with. Some of these people were convinced that I was making myself very unhealthy, although I hadn't really been sick in a long time. I didn't really think about it much. But believe it or not, it actually worked out interesting, because I found out when I was on the carnivore diet how much work I could do. And then, when I switched to the plant-based diet, my work sort of failed. But it was kind of winding down anyway. So I was still doing the hurricane cleanup and debris removal, and then I transitioned into that electrical work. For a while, I was doing a little of both. When I got sick and got the flu, that's basically when my one job ended. When I got better, that's when I got into the other job, which is kind of nice. Anyway, I am grateful for a lot of the things that happened. Now, I have to remind myself, this took place it's been more than 30 years. Think about it. From 1993, 2025, 32 years? A long time. I was 25, at the time. 24, 25. Incredible. Unbelievable. I'm going to stop at Aldi. I'm going to look. There's supposed to be some kind of cat food that's made from meat my friend told me about, so I'm going to go ahead and check. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's going to be a quick in and out. I think I'll just tie the bike over here. Okay. Just put it on one of these. Okay. Just tie this thing right here. Right. Okay. Let's see. I don't know if this thing's overheated or not, or this lock is getting a little strange. Oh, come on. Now it's stuck. There it is. Okay. Anyway. Still working. What do you know? I put this thing in cardboard, and as a theory, it seems like it's less likely to overheat when it's wrapped in cardboard than when it's out in the open. I think the heat that's killing the phone is coming from me, not from the atmosphere. This is a theory actually a friend of mine had. He said, insulate your phone, see what happens. Stupid thing. All right, there we go. Perfect. Okay. Anyway, let's see. I was just here yesterday. I think it's over here. Somebody dropped a bunch of fruit. Okay. I don't see anything like that. What is this? Grain-free. Oh. Maybe they're in cat treats. Look at all those ingredients. Oh my goodness. What about jerky? Still a lot of ingredients. Oh well. What about the canned stuff? That's for dogs. Ton of ingredients. More ingredients. Well, I guess he was wrong. Same thing. I don't know what to do. Oh well. Premium adult cat food. Look at all those ingredients. Oh, my goodness. I gotta figure out something for little Milton. Oh well. So much for that. Can you believe it's October and it's still 92 degrees? Ridiculous. I tell you, the weather here is probably one of the worst I've ever seen anywhere. Always hot, never cool. You have to run your air conditioner every single day, even in the winter. Only 2 weeks out of the year, you can live without air conditioning. What is wrong with this lock? Wow. It's almost to the point where it's going to leave me stuck locked up somewhere. Ridiculous. Anyway, I might just put this here for now. So, like I was saying earlier, not that long ago, I was thinking about this, but you got to realize it's been 30 years, more than 30 years since Hurricane Andrew hit. That's amazing. So I was a 20-something guy back then. Now I'm 57. The funny thing is, I think I could do exactly the same amount of work I did back then, maybe more, because I have more experience now. Back then, I couldn't deal with people the way I do now. Now I'm more of a take it or leave it kind of guy. I know when people are trying to take advantage of me. And even back then, I was pretty good at it. But, you know, the older you get, I think the more you learn. It's amazing to me how slow people go, even on a bicycle. Other people go slower on the bicycle. People walk so slow compared to me. It really is kind of frustrating. When it comes to driving, though, they do tend to be either really fast or really slow, so I don't know what to say. But I can tell you one thing. I don't enjoy any of it. The less I have to travel, the better. So anyway, well, let's see if we can cross the street without getting run over. People don't stop when they turn right or left. They just go. And they don't care if they block the crosswalk. They don't even think about it. They get so close together, it's ridiculous. Anyway, they just keep on turning. Yep, don't stop for the bicycle. Oh, there we go. And they'll toot at the other one. People here are so inconsiderate. Well, anyway. We'll just hit the Harbor Freight. But when it comes to finding work and doing all these things, I have to admit, I learned a pretty good lesson. A lot of times people make promises. They tell you, you go to college and you're going to get a better job than anybody else. The reality comes, it really comes down to who you know and where you are. Not so much what you know. You could be the smartest guy out there and be dirt poor. You could be a genius like Nikola Tesla and be taken advantage of. Or you can be a somewhat moronic person who's shrewd at business, like Thomas Edison, and do very well for yourself. And that right there Just something to consider. Now, when it comes to future plans, as you know, I enjoy going on YouTube and I enjoy talking to people and meeting people. This November, I'm hoping that ability to meet people is going to be a reality. Where I get to meet some of you that might be going to the Hack Your Health. Now, you'd say, well, why in the world would Rick go to such an overpriced conference? Well, that's only because somebody has made it possible for me to go. Covering ticket and I don't know, expenses or whatever. I would never have gone on my own. Basically, I'm going because somebody is letting me go there without having to spend money I don't have. And I want to take advantage of it to be able to meet up with people and maybe get to know some of you in person so I can see who I've been talking to, and it'd be kind of interesting. We'll see. Well, it looks like the Halloween spirit thing is over here. There's the vegan. Is that a woman or man? I don't know. When I see people go to the vegan food truck, I never really know if they're male or female. Vegan guys just don't seem to have a very masculine presence. Now, the Barnes & Noble is closed. They closed a few weeks ago. They were cleaning it out, throwing stuff away. I'm sure pretty soon it'll be empty. I don't know what they're going to put there. Most likely, they're either going to tear this whole thing down and put apartments in there, or they could turn this into a medical center. They might do that. Maybe another one of those hospitals or whatever. Yep. Those vegan, it's funny, on the run vegan. Yeah, if you're a vegan, you're going to be on the run to the toilet. Look at all this traffic. Incredible, just to go down Kendall. Anyway, I'm going to be at Harbor Freight. I'm going to get myself a brand new tap and die set, and hopefully I'll be able to get done a couple of projects that I want to do. Now, why is this thing taking so long? I see. Very interesting. I got this sort of staggered light, one way and then the other. Oh well. Restaurant over there. Okay, now there is a walk light, but how am I going to get through here? What is this? Look at this. Unbelievable. I tell you. Okay, I guess it's safe. All right, there we go. And thanks to my wonderful bicycle, I have brakes and shifts and everything. So it was a very nice trip. 2 places in one. On the way home, I'll hit the Fresco y Mas, maybe pick up some heart attack chicken. Anyway, I hope that you didn't fall asleep on my bike ride. I try to do one of these every day, and now my lock won't come out. There we go. So, have a great day. I'll catch you another time. Let me get this out of here.